So if there's one publisher in the gaming industry that you can always get a good laugh out of, it's Electronic Arts. It's straight EA, man. Every time you see them in a headline, it's just comedy, man. Comedy value times 1,000. These guys are absolutely funny like paper money, man. So EA, obviously, I think we all know that EA is in it for the cash. I mean, yes, all these companies are in it for the cash, but these guys are in it for the cash. You know what I mean? There are different levels of being in it for the cash, and these guys are like, you know, Dragon Ball Z over 9,000 in it for the cash, no doubt. So a statement surfaced yesterday from CFO Blake Jorgensen, and he says used games are important to the gaming industry. When obviously we all know that they've been trying to get rid of used games forever, especially with the online pass and all that nonsense that came to be, you know, a couple of years back. I mean, that's been reported on to death. We all know that that's kind of fading away at this point, I believe, for the most part. But I just think it's funny, man, that they would come out and release a statement like this. This is the kind of statement that you make when your plans fall through. This is to me the kind of statement you make when plans just don't go your way. I've already read this article a couple times and I laughed every single time I read it. Now, a couple of comparisons were made in this article, things like CDs. You know, he talks about how, you know, you can pretty much get CDs online right now, you know, soundtracks, you know, music CDs, all that kind of stuff. Pretty much free. I mean, you can go to YouTube and download the MP3 version of some of these videos if you wanted to. I mean, there's all kinds of ways. But from what he's saying in this article, you know, still people go out and buy the physical CDs. And I'm from that camp. I will always prefer to buy the physical media over the digital media 99.9% of the time. You know, there are times out there, like I bought Rain, you know, a couple last month, or early last month. And, you know, that's because I could only get it digital and I really wanted to play it. And it was like a $15 purchase. And I don't foresee me ever wanting to play that game again. I mean, I knew that going into it. And so it's a different kind of purchase. But if it's a game like a Final Fantasy game, or, you know, a game that I know that I want to play, like I have every Final Fantasy game in my collection right now. If it's that kind of game, I will always buy it physical, because that's the kind of person that I am. I love buying physical product and then being able to do whatever I want to with it. Now, what's even more funny about this article is that he talks about buying the physical disc, but then he also talks about extending the life of the game using things like DLC and, you know, all that stuff, which, you know, I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I'm not a fan of DLC. Like, I will play DLC rarely. I'm just not a fan of it. You know, if it packs a punch in terms of like hours of gameplay for $15, that's different. But if it's $15 for 2 hours of gameplay or something, you know, silly like that, you know, it will never get my money. Even if I really enjoy the game, it's just not for me. And I think we all know that in some cases this DLC is just game content that should have been in the original game anyway. In some cases. Now, not in all cases, but, you know, it's just one of those ways that they, you know, eke out a little bit of more cash from us. And I don't completely agree with it. The same way with like digital downloads. I mean, that's pretty much all that this article has to say, man. Is I just thought it was really funny when I read it. I was reading over a ton of articles today. I came across this one and I was like, wow, that is like a huge contradiction, man. You could probably look up articles from a couple of years ago and you could see headlines, you know, EA's fighting used games or whatever. So, yeah, used games are going to stick around for a little bit longer. But the more that we keep buying into these DLCs and we keep buying into, you know, this digital stuff little by little, you know, we're actually, as consumers, every time we buy something digital, we're actually saying to these people, these publishers, that we're cool with it. You know, even though, you know, a couple of months ago when Xbox One was doing all their stuff and we felt the digital age was, you know, upon us like really early, you know, we fought back. But then immediately the day after we won that little battle, we, you know, kept buying digital content. So, you know, it's a catch-22 depending on how you look at it. But I think the more we keep buying into these, you know, DLCs, digital stuff, digital copies of games, day one digital type stuff like that, you know, we're actually ushering in the era, and then we're going to blame them for it when it actually happens. But if you buy a lot of digital content, especially that day one digital content, those $60 games, then, you know, at the end of the day, we're actually responsible for it. So I think that if we keep buying it, it could come really quick, and if we kind of just lay off a bit, it could come really slow. It just depends on really what we do, I think, as a consumer base. But you guys know how I feel about digital. I'm cool with digital. I just don't want it to be the only way that I can buy a game. And but I'm cool with it being a part of the market. I'm cool with like gamers having options. You know what I mean? I do feel like that digital content should always be cheaper than physical content, but I just don't think that's gonna happen. You know, I know Steam pulls it off real well, but if the only way that I can buy an EA game is if I buy it from EA digitally, best believe that joker's gonna be full price. it ain't gonna be any cheaper. You know what I mean? It should be, and it would surprise me if it actually was, but in my mind it'll still be $60. You know what I mean? Even though they don't have to pay all the cost that goes along with manufacturing that game that you would have to do with a physical copy. You know, they're in it for the money, and if they know the only place I can buy that game is from them, and this is for any publisher, then they're going to charge you for it. You know, at that point they have the monopoly. You know what I mean? At that point they have the monopoly. So anyway, let me know what you guys think about the used game stuff and about EA. I just thought this was a funny article, but yeah, man, they love used games now, baby. So plans are ruined, I guess. But anyway, hopefully you guys have enjoyed the show, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. You guys be good.